I should like to speak in tribute to Alice O'Brien because she is the reason for my being here today in this house, which is built of cypress, which came from her father's Cypress Holdings in Florida. He was a lumberman in St. Paul. She was born in the early 1890s and died en route to Captiva in 1962.
Oh.
As a young woman, she was a fine sports person. She was a traveler, even going so far as to take an African safari in order to photograph pygmies and the life.
And that wasn't being done much back then.
And that was not done. She had a car when she was in her teens. She had a boat at an early time, and she had many skills as a navigator and as a driver. Her first adventure was in World War I, when in her early 20s she went to Europe first as a mechanic. She enlisted as a mechanic to service the trucks and so on in the Army.
Well, how did she, Alice O'Brien, ever start to come to Captiva?
I'm not sure just exactly when it was, but it must have been in the 30s when she came down with several friends, including the Colemans, who later bought property next to her on Captiva on fishing trips. And she was a very skillful fisherman, and they would come down and hire boats at that time, and they stayed at the old fishing lodge down there near Timmy's Nook, which later burned.
And I've heard about that.
Yes, and they were there for several years, and then I think she decided she wanted to build a house. About that time, she acquired her first yacht. It was called the Wanigan, the name of the Indian name for the boat that she had been on with her father as they brought the logs down the river in Minnesota. Among her many contributions, I think, to Captiva was, first of all, the circle of friends that she gathered around her. I don't know how, I think she had known Ding Darling from the day she first came down fishing.
Yeah.
And then Harold Bixby, one of the two Bixby brothers who were early residents here. And Harold was one of the sponsors of Lindbergh's flight. They were a St. Louis family, and a small group of men, 4 or 5, sponsored Lindbergh and backed him financially. And by the way, Alice was in Paris at the time. I don't know whether she'd gone over especially or not. She loved Paris, spent a lot of time there. She was determined to see the landing. I don't know whether Harold was there or not. At any rate, when the news came, she drove out, and she was among those at the landing, and it must have been really a spectacular time.
Right.
Well, in addition to taking care of us, you might say physically and spiritually, Alice also provided many of the amenities of life on Captiva those early days. She helped, for example, when I say helped, I mean she financed in one way or another a little grocery store, which is the nucleus of the present grocery store. It was really just one large room, which Parker Mills ran for many years, and Alice arranged for him to have around the floor, in a kind of quadrilateral, a broad aisle with tables and chairs, and it served as a little restaurant. And there was a wonderful German woman here, splendid cook. I can't remember her name, but she was the cook, and you could go up there for lunch and have those wonderful soups. And you could also order dinners there. Sometimes we would have gala dinners.
And that is what is now the island store.
That's the island. That is the island store. It's the nucleus of it. And she also helped a young man establish a small bakery. This, too, was on Palm Avenue originally.